Elias had a habit that looked harmless. He never gave up on his dreams. He only kept asking them to wait until tomorrow. Tomorrow, he told himself, he would begin. Tomorrow, he would be clearer. Tomorrow, he would be braver. Tomorrow, he would finally become the man he had promised himself he would be. And because tomorrow always sounded gentle, Elias never noticed how much of his life he was quietly giving away to it. He was 26, old enough to feel time pressing on him, but still young enough to pretend he had more of it than he really did. His room was full of unfinished versions of himself. A notebook with a strong title and an empty second page. A laptop folder full of drafts with names like Final, Final 2, Final Real, Final Last. A course he had almost finished. A portfolio he had almost cleaned up. Whilst a future he was almost ready to enter. From the outside, Elias did not look lazy. That was the problem. Laziness is obvious. It is easy to judge and easy to name. What Elias had was quieter than that. It looked like planning. It looked like reflection. It looked like someone taking life seriously. But most days, he did not move. He adjusted. He organized. He prepared. He thought. And thinking, if you do it long enough, can start to feel like progress. Every morning began the same way. He would wake up and lie still for a few seconds. In that small space before the day truly began, everything still felt possible. Today, he would think, will be different. Today, I will write the email. Today, I will finish the application. Today, I will send the portfolio. Today, I will stop wasting my life. The promise always sounded real in the morning. Then came the first hour. He would make coffee. He would open the window. He would clean the desk because it was hard to begin at a messy desk. He would check his notes. He would rewrite his plan. He would watch one short video about discipline just to get his mind in the right place. By noon, he had usually done enough to feel tired. Not the tiredness that comes from courage. Not the tiredness that comes from building something real. A softer tiredness. The kind that comes from circling the edge of your life for hours without stepping into it. That was Elias's talent. He knew how to stay close enough to his dreams to keep them alive, but far enough away that they could never reject him. As long as he was preparing, he could still believe he had potential. As long as he had not started, he could still imagine doing something great. As long as the work remained unfinished, it could still be perfect in his head. So he postponed. Not because the dream meant too little, but because it meant too much. He was not afraid of effort. He was afraid of effort followed by proof. Proof that maybe he was ordinary. Proof that maybe he was not as gifted as he hoped. Proof that maybe the version of Elias living in his imagination was kinder, brighter, braver than the one living in this room. So tomorrow became his hiding place. He never called it that. He called it being smart. He called it needing more time. He called it waiting for the right moment. He called it getting ready. But underneath all those softer names, it was still fear. Outside his window, life kept moving. That was the cruelest part. It did not stop to shame him. It did not point at him. Nant did not ask why he was still standing still. It simply kept going. His friends moved into jobs they were not ready for. Some moved to new cities. Some failed and started again. Some posted imperfect work online and improved where people could see them. Some said yes before they felt qualified. Some were scared too, but they moved. Elias watched all of this the way a man watches trains from a station he never leaves. He told himself they were luckier, better timed, more confident. But late at night, when the room became honest and there was nowhere left to hide, he knew the truth. They were not all more talented than him. They were just willing to be seen before they were ready. He was not. That was the whole difference. One night he scrolled through old messages and found conversations from 2 years earlier. Old plans, old deadlines, old promises to himself. I will send it next week. I just need to make it better. I'm close now. This time I mean it." He stared at the screen for a long time. The words had sounded fresh when he first said them. Now they looked like fossils. That was when he felt it. Not panic. Something colder. The feeling that he had been saying the same sentence for years and calling it hope. His mother used to ask how things were going. "How is the application? Did you send your work? Any news?" "At first," Elias answered warmly. "Soon. Almost done. Just polishing. I want it to be good before I send it." His words were never completely false. That made them sadder. He meant them every time. He believed himself every time. Over the years, his mother asked less. Not because she stopped caring, but because even love gets tired of knocking on doors that only open into promises. Then there was Mara. Mara had known Elias long enough to see both his tenderness and his pattern. She never mocked him, never pushed too hard, but she watched. She watched how beautifully he could describe the life he wanted, how clearly he could explain what he would build, who he would become, where he would go. He could make the future sound so close that for a moment even other people believed it. Then another week would pass, and nothing real would happen. One evening, they sat outside a small cafe as the light faded and the street began to glow. Mara stirred her drink slowly and looked at him. "You talk about the future like it is a room you're about to walk into," she said. Elias smiled. "Maybe I am." She held his eyes for 1 second too long. "It does not feel like that," she said. "It feels like you live in the hallway." He laughed, because the truth is easier to touch when it is disguised as wit. But the line followed him home. A hallway. That was exactly what his life felt like. Always near, always almost, always one step away from beginning. And somehow, people can spend years in a hallway. A few weeks later, something happened that should have forced his life forward. An old professor sent him a message. A small creative agency was looking for junior contributors. Nothing glamorous, nothing impossible. The kind of opportunity made for imperfect people who were willing to begin. "Send your portfolio by Monday," the message said. "I thought of you immediately." Elias read the message 3 times. For one clean moment, before fear woke up and rearranged everything inside his head, so he felt something bright. This was it. Not the perfect future. Not the grand turning point of a movie. Just a real door. A small one, but real. The kind of door he had been asking life to give him. He opened old files, reviewed old work, made notes, created folders, rewrote descriptions, adjusted one project, then another. He drafted the email and deleted it, drafted it again. By evening, he told himself he was making progress. By night, he told himself he worked better late. By midnight, he decided sleep would give him a sharper eye. The next morning, he looked at the portfolio and saw only what was missing. Not enough, not clean enough, not strong enough, not ready. He told himself one more day would make it better. But the truth was simpler than that. As long as he did not send it, the future could still remain beautiful in his head. There's no rejection, no silence, no proof. The dream was safest before it was tested. So he adjusted, polished, delayed. He told himself he was protecting the work. Really, he was protecting himself from seeing where he actually stood. Monday came. Then it went. No disaster, no warning siren. No one arrived to drag the opportunity away from him. The deadline simply closed, and somewhere far away, life moved on without him. Again. That evening, Elias sat at his desk and refreshed his inbox twice, as if reality might bend for him if he looked sorry enough. It did not. He wanted to say he had lost the opportunity, but even alone, he could not make himself lie that cleanly. You lose things by reaching for them and failing to hold on. This was different. He had watched it pass through untouched hands. The next day, Mara called. He almost did not answer. Guilt recognizes voices quickly, but he answered. "You sent it?" she asked. There was no accusation in her tone. That made it worse. Elias stared at the dark screen of his laptop. "No." A small silence followed. "I figured," she said. He hated that she had figured. He hated that his life had become predictable in the saddest possible way. "I just needed a little more time," he said. The sentence sounded weak even before it finished leaving his mouth. Mara was quiet for a moment. Then she said, very gently, "Elias, you always need a little more time." He said nothing. "I stopped asking," she continued, "because you always sounded sincere." And somehow that made it sadder. Something inside him tightened. Not anger, not exactly shame. Recognition, the terrible kind. The kind that comes when someone names your wound better than you ever have. "I am trying," he said. "I know," Mara replied. "But trying to feel ready is not the same as trying." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, staring at the floor. "You think I do not know that? I think you know everything except the part that matters." He closed his eyes. "And what part is that? That your life is not waiting for you to become less afraid?" After the call ended, Elias stayed where he was. No music, no videos, no new schedule, no fresh promise. Just silence. And in that silence, the truth finally stopped being something he could edit. He had spent years blaming time because it hurt less than blaming fear. He said he needed more discipline. Sometimes he did. He said he needed a better plan. Sometimes he did. But those things were not the center of his problem. The center was this. He was waiting for a version of himself that would never need courage. Someone calmer. Someone better. Someone who could begin without trembling. Someone who could send the work and not care what came back. Someone who would never have to feel small in order to grow. He had been waiting for that version for years. It was never coming. Because courage does not arrive before action. It arrives inside action, late and breathing hard after the door has already been opened. For the first time, Elias saw what tomorrow had really been. Not hope, not rest, not a fresh start. A shelter, a soft place where his future remained untested, where his dream remained untouched, where he never had to meet the painful truth of who he was today. Tomorrow had protected his fantasy. It had also stolen his life. He thought of all the mornings he had made himself promises, all the evenings he had forgiven himself too easily, all the days that had left no mark because he had not touched them with anything real. You do not lose a life in one dramatic moment. You lose it quietly, in routines, in delays, in harmless little sentences, in one more day, in not yet, in almost. His tragedy was not that he had failed. It was that he had done so much to avoid failure that he had also avoided living. The room around him looked exactly the same. The same desk, the same files, the same old clock still counting without emotion. Nothing outside had changed. That too was part of growing up. Sometimes the most important moment of your life is almost invisible. No thunder, no music, no sudden transformation. Just a tired man in a small room, finally too honest to keep lying to himself. The next morning arrived the way all his mornings had arrived. Gray light, cool air, the old instinct to bargain with the day. Tomorrow, a voice inside him almost said. But the sentence stopped halfway. Elias sat up. Not dramatically, not with fresh confidence, not because the fear was gone. He was still afraid, still embarrassed, still aware of what he had already lost. But for once, he did not wait to feel different before he moved. He opened his laptop, opened the portfolio, did not reorganize the folders, did not rename the file, did not clean the desk again. did not watch one more video, did not reach for motivation. He looked at the work as it was, uneven, incomplete, human. Then he chose one thing, only one. He fixed what he could, and left what he could not. And before fear had time to dress itself up as wisdom, he sent it to a smaller opportunity he had been ignoring for weeks. His finger shook when he clicked send. That was how he knew it was real. Nothing magical happened after that. No instant reply, no sudden confidence, no glowing sunrise. But something small and sacred had shifted. For the first time in years, Elias had done something before he believed he was ready. He sat there for a long time, listening to the quiet. A car passed outside. A dog barked somewhere downstairs. A door closed in the hallway. Life had not paused for his awakening. It had simply allowed him, finally, to join it. And maybe that was enough for a beginning, because the truth was, Elias had never needed a perfect plan. He had never needed another week. And he had never needed fear to disappear. He had only needed to stop using tomorrow as a place to hide. Tomorrow had always sounded kind, until one morning he finally chose today.